Hello everyone, it is Kevin and it is time to power on and revisit a classic. There are certain games you remember clearly, and others you remember emotionally. Prince of Persia is one of those games for me. I remember one day my dad came home from work with his laptop full of MS-DOS games. Not sure where he got them, but I didn't care, because I was just a little boy and I was getting into video games. This was one of the first games I saw him play. And while he was trying to push Math Blaster on me, this looked way more interesting in my opinion. Inevitably, I found out how to boot the game up myself and I tried it. As a kid, this game wasn't something I beat, it was something I struggled with to the point of giving up. I remember the jumps feeling wrong, the movement feeling slow, and the pressure of that clock completely throwing me off. For years, Prince of Persia had lived in my head as that game I could not figure out. Because you see, Prince of Persia was never meant to be a game for kids. So coming back to it now, in 2026, felt less like revisiting a classic, and more like settling unfinished business. Released in 1989, Prince of Persia is a cinematic platformer built around precision, timing, and restraint. It was made by Jordan Mechner, and it was the follow-up to Karateka, I think that's how you say it at least, which I also had on MS-DOS at the time, but I never knew they were related until now. You play as a nameless prince imprisoned in a dungeon. The goal is to escape and save the princess, but you are only given 1 hour to escape, reach the palace above, and defeat the villain Jafar. There is no leveling up, no new skills, no safety nets. Just HP ups, which aren't that useful because when you die in this game it's usually an insta-death. The entire experience revolves around learning the game's rules and respecting them. Prince of Persia was never meant to be fast, it was meant to be immersive and realistic. In 2026 this game is on more platforms than you could imagine, but the best way to play it is on your PC with SDL pop, for the most authentic experience of course. The gameplay and controls is where Prince of Persia either clicks for you or completely loses you. This game was way ahead of its time. The controls are deliberate, the movement has weight, and every action has a brief moment of commitment. The prince doesn't just instantly jump when you press a button. He takes a step, he braces, and then he jumps. It is a whole process and it cannot be cheesed. As a kid, of course this felt broken to me. I was used to NES platformers that were super snappy and responsive. As an adult, I now understand that it was intentionally made this way. This game demands your patience. You can't just panic your way through obstacles. You can't animation cancel in this game, so one wrong move and it'll equal death. You rush, you die. Once you slow down and play on the game's terms, everything starts to work. And when it works, it feels incredibly satisfying. As I alluded to before, power-ups are rare in this game, and they are usually HP ups or floating potions, which is actually required to beat one of the levels. Prince of Persia keeps its story very simple, and that's a strength. You're a prisoner, the princess is trapped, and Jafar has taken control. All you get is the manual, the intro text scroll, and some small cutscenes that lack voice acting. The story only exists to create urgency, not distraction. That 1 hour timer isn't just a gameplay mechanic. It is the story. Every second that passes reinforces the tension, and the game never lets you forget what's at stake. There's a shadow version of your character, but I imagine he's just the result of a spell. I'm not too sure about the explanation behind him. He just kinda shows up. The story does have a conclusion though, and there is a sequel which I should probably play someday. One final note though, this mouse is the true hero of the story. If you know, you know. A common theme in this game so far, Prince of Persia was ahead of its time visually as well. The animation was famously rotoscoped, which means it was traced from real human movement, and it shows in every step, stumble, and jump. This was one of the first examples of this technique. The prince moves like a person and not a sprite. The reason for that is that Jordan Mechner had his brother do the movements, and that was the basis of the prince's movements. That realism gave the game its identity, but it also explains why so many players bounced off of it. This wasn't your everyday platformer. It wasn't messing around and it wasn't forgiving. But the environments, lighting, and animation all work together to sell the atmosphere. Most areas are dark and dingy, as you would expect from a dungeon. The dungeons actually feel oppressive when you play through it. The palace feels dangerous, and the world feels very physical. Even today, it holds up because of how cohesive the design is. For a game that was released in 1989, Prince of Persia still runs remarkably well. Collision detection is strict but fair, the physics are consistent, and the deaths feel earned. A lot like Dark Souls again, when you fail, you usually know why. That consistency is what allows the game to be difficult without feeling cheap. It's a demanding game, but it respects the player as well. I hate to say it again, but this game was way ahead of its time, and is still a must-play in 2026. No remake needed. Prince of Persia isn't a long game, but it is a dense one. While there is a lot of trial and error involved, replay value doesn't come from the branching paths the game contains. And the game also doesn't have alternate endings. The replay value comes from mastery. Each playthrough is faster, cleaner, and more confident. Beating it once feels good. Beating it well feels even better. This game shows you your time remaining at the credit screen, so you could always try to beat your last clear time. This may actually have been the first game to encourage speedrunning. Prince of Persia is a game that hasn't aged in the traditional sense. It hasn't become easier, it hasn't softened its edges. Instead, it waits for you to come back to it someday to meet it where it is. As a kid, I didn't have the patience for it. In 2026, I finally did. And playing it now, I understand why it left such a mark on gaming history. Prince of Persia isn't just a classic. It wasn't just revolutionary. It's a reminder that some games don't change over time. We do. Let me know in the comments. Did you ever play this game? If you did, when did you finally beat it? If not, will you play it now? If you enjoyed this kind of content, please make sure you subscribe for more like it. And that's a wrap. It is time to reboot. I will see you on the other side.